Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Let's wait for more people to join. Good to see you. And while we are waiting for everyone to join, it would be nice to have just a small talk before we start the webinar. We would like to know from where are you joining? What time is it for you? And did you upgrade to PAM 4.0 already? It would be good to know, so you can post your answers in the chat while we are waiting. We can see the answers together. Poland. So you have 1 more hour. We are from Ukraine. It's 4 p.m. already. Hello. Good to see you.
Hello, Wojciech.
Odessa. Hello. Upgraded. Nice. Let's wait for more people to join. And for the new joiners, we are here just waiting for more people to come on the call and having a small discussion in chat. From where are you joining? What time is it for you? And did you upgrade to PAM 4.0? You can write your answers in chat. Hello, Alexander.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello. So we are having a small talk while waiting. Where are you joining from? What time is it for you? And did you upgrade to PAM 4.0? You can post answers in chat. Now I see Ukraine and Poland. From Munich, from Turkey, Istanbul. Nice, upgraded. So we have here people who already know all the news and actually apply it. Good. Let's wait 1 minute, and I believe we can start. All right, yeah. I don't see any new messages upcoming in the chat, so I believe we can start. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic, how to find a suitable process owner. And before we start, I would like to ask you to follow some rules. You have the option to unmute yourself, but please stay muted during the webinar until the Q&A session starts. If you decide to unmute yourself for the Q&A session, be advised that this session is being recorded. We will have a Q&A session at the end. We will be happy to answer all your questions. You can put your questions into the chat as well, and we will collect them and then try to answer it in the end at the Q&A session. For the Q&A session, please raise your hand and we will call you so you can ask your questions. So pretty simple rules. Thank you very much. Welcome again. For those who joined just recently, today's discussion on how to find a suitable process owner. And today our speakers will discuss the key responsibilities of a process owner, how to assess if someone is the right fit for the role, best practices for supporting process owners in their journey, and Ron will share his insights as an experienced principal assessor. At the end of the webinar, we will talk about our next webinar. So let's start our webinar with a short introduction. My name is Olga, and I've been with automotive industry for over 4 years, working primarily as a certified Scrum Master and configuration manager. In addition to my Scrum Master responsibilities, I've also actively contributed to several ASPICE assessments, specifically for the Sub-8 process, where I played a key role in achieving ASPICE Level 2 certification. I'm very excited to have a great discussion today. And our guest today is Olena, an experienced project manager and product owner with over 10 years in the automotive industry. In the first 6 years of her career, she worked as a software developer. That's why that gives her a unique perspective on ASPICE implementation from both technical and managerial sides. She has participated in multiple ASPICE assessments for different projects and was certified as a provisional assessor to better understand the assessments from various perspectives. With extensive expertise in process integration and assessment preparation, Olena has hands-on experience in overcoming the challenges of ASPICE adoption and aligning the team to ensure successful implementation. And let me introduce our host today. Some of you may already be familiar with him, but for those who aren't, allow me to give a brief introduction. This is Ronald Melster, known in the automotive world simply as Ron. As a principal ASPICE assessor, he helps organizations, projects, and people achieve their goals. He focuses on balancing structure and standardization with pragmatism and efficiency. His journey began in the 1990s when he studied computer science in Berlin and Edinburgh. Initially passionate about coding, he soon discovered software engineering processes, from defining software requirements to modular development and process optimization. And since the early 2000s, Ronald has been working in the automotive industry and became one of Europe's longest-serving ASPICE assessor in 2005. I think Prada Plaza. For him, assessments are more than just ratings. They're about empowering teams and explaining the why behind processes. He has collaborated with Bosch, Carmack, Nippon Seiki, Audio, Porsche, and HERE, influencing hundreds of professionals. One of his biggest achievements was leading a Bosch development division with 7,000 engineers worldwide to capability level 3. Ronald is more than just an assessor. He is a mentor, a coach, sparring partner, helping people not just understand the ASPICE, but truly embrace it. So let's start our discussion now, when we know each other, with our first topic, key responsibilities of a process owner. And Olena, let's start with you. Could you please share with us, how do you understand the role of the process owner?
Okay, thank you, Olga, for the introduction. I'm happy to be here today with you. So, based on my understanding and experience, process owner, it's someone from the team who is deeply familiar how the team operates and understands the specific of this particular process. For example, For example, for testing process, it can be a test lead or a test manager or senior test engineer. This person is typically responsible for creating and maintaining the core documentation related to the process, such as test plan or strategy. They also help team to implement and stabilize the process, monitor how it is executed, and to make adjustments when as it needed. Additionally, process owner plays a key role in representing the process during a SPICE assessment. This is maybe the most challenging part, ensuring that it is clearly communicated and aligned with expected standards. That's how I see the role. But I would like to hear your perspective as well, Ron. How do you envision the responsibilities of a process owner?
Thank you, Olena, and thank you, Olga, for the introduction, and a warm welcome from my side as well. To come back to your question, from my coaching experience, I have a little different definition, which is an additional role of process owner, which I would like to share with you. A process owner can be a central person within the organization, which is responsible for defining the standard process, including the needed roles and templates for the specific process. In other words, this person is an expert on the process with all the aspects. Let's start with a simple example. Let's assume that there's a process owner on organizational level for configuration management. So he or she needs all the tools which are used, needs to know about all the tools which are used in the organization across all the projects. And he or she also knows all the challenges when it comes to branching and merging, for example. And this person can negotiate the backup and archiving concept with the IT department and then provide it to all the projects. So this person is some kind of a meta process owner in addition to the process owner on project level.
Thank you very much for the insightful answer. And Ron, I'd love to hear your thoughts on something else. What does a process owner actually do in your view?
I will continue to differentiate between the project level and the organizational level. Let's start with the project level. As Olena just mentioned, the process owner in the project, they need to create the strategies which are necessary. They might want to create the structure for requirements, the life cycle for requirements. They will create the templates for documents which are then created by the team. The process owner on project level might be involved in the planning of the activities and the estimatings for this process. And he or she might be involved in tool decisions as well. Tools which are necessary to perform the activities in the project. And last but not least, which I think is the most challenging part of a process owner, he or she shall guide the team members in performing the process activities. For example, if someone needs help creating a baseline, to stick with the configuration management example, the process owner for configuration management will be there to help. These are just a few activities, and this list is far from being complete. Now let's have a look at the activities which are performed by a process owner on organizational level. As I mentioned earlier, this person will create and maintain the standard process with all aspects like activity descriptions, method descriptions, tailoring guidelines, templates, etc. One aspect which is necessary for creating a standard process are the role definitions, as we will see later on. So in a way, this person defines the needed competencies for the process owners on project level. And the process owner on organization level is also responsible for the tool decisions if the organization decides to use a standard tool. For example, if all the projects shall use the same change management tool, then the decision is taken by this process owner. And the meta process owner provides guidance to the process owners in the projects for the respective process. So as you can see, it's a lot of responsibility for this person and a lot of activities which need to be done both on organizational level as well as on project level.
That's a great point, Ron. Thank you. And Olena, now I'd be interested to hear your perspective as well. How do you see the role of a process owner?
Okay, Ron covered it pretty well. There is a huge scope of work for a process owner. Being a process owner is a time-intensive role, especially at the beginning. First, when you define the process itself and gather all relevant information, setting up different dashboards, collecting links, maybe other supportive elements, then you need to decide and establish traceability between your artifacts. Then you need to define clear objectives of your process. How do you understand that it's performing well? And when during that setup phase, it takes up to 100% of your capacity, especially on early stages. But then once foundation is in place, you need to train team how to follow the process. In my experience, during the initial stages, I run weekly reviews of work of the team to ensure that they're following and guide them and teach them, because they also need time to get used to new process. Then you make it more rare, like bi-weekly and then on monthly basis against your defined objectives. And then as process became mature and became more stable, process owner do less frequent reviews. Then you realize that something needs to be adjusted. Maybe process itself needs to be adjusted. Maybe you define something not really working, and you should take care of keeping your documentation up to date. All this review process, approval process, this is everything on process owner. It's not rocket science, but it does require a specific skill set: attention to details, patience, clear communication, and ability to think both systematically and practically.
This is great input. Olena, Ron, thank you. And I believe we can move on to our next topic. So, how to assess if someone is the right fit for the role. And Ron, building on that, what do you believe is essential to be effective in the process owner role?
To be an effective process owner takes much more than just knowing the base practices or the process steps. It's a combination of mindset, responsibility, and pragmatism. Let's start with the mindset or the commitment. A strong process owner, as Olena pointed out, does not just manage a process, they take ownership. They are committed to structure, consistency, which might even involve talking to other process owners so the processes work together. And they ensure that the process deliver real value, not just documents. And this is a sense of accountability which sets them apart from the rest of the team. But commitment is not enough. What truly drives sustainability is the mindset, a mindset focused on improvement. A good process owner is never satisfied with this is how we always have done it. They actively seek out new areas where the process can be refined and adapted for efficiency. Not just because something is wrong, but because continuous improvement is a fundamental part of our quality thinking. At the same time, process ownership is not a single role. It requires someone who's willing to guide others, as I mentioned earlier. We as process owners are the reference points when others are unsure. we or you as process owner provide clarity when requirements are unclear, and you direct the team when priorities shift. Being a process owner means supporting the team, not just by enforcing rules, but by guiding when they have questions. And finally, sometimes it even takes pragmatism, because the world is never perfect. Schedules are tight, teams are stretched, and compromises are often part of the game. An effective process owner understands when we need to be strict and when we need to be flexible. Pragmatism does not mean lowering the standards. It means keeping the vision of the goal when the conditions are less than ideal.
That's a helpful perspective, Ron. And Olena, what qualities do you think are most important for someone to succeed as a process owner?
Okay. I fully agree with Ron, first of all. I would like also to add that one of the important aspects of being a process owner is knowing your team well, knowing people with whom you work, understand how do they work, their strengths and their weaknesses, where they might need support. This insight has a direct impact on how the process is implemented and followed. The process owner also needs to have a clear understanding of what is required from both the ASPICE perspective and from the project itself, because usually projects has their own way of working, and process owner need to find the balance. The challenge and the responsibility is to find that balance without disrupting the project established practices. And finally, process owner shall have good soft skills. He or she should be consistent, positive, enthusiastic about ASPICE. Enthusiastic, yeah. This mindset is critical, especially when working with teams that may feel frustrated by process requirements. You might hear things like, this slows us down. Oh, why do we need this checklist? Why do we need to do this? This is not a priority right now. And during these moments, process owner needs strong communication skills, negotiation skills, and even conflict management to keep the team engaged, shift their perception, and reinforce the long-term value of the process. Ron, what is your expectation? Who is a good process owner from your point of view?
In addition to what you mentioned, the short answer is competency. We're talking about competency management today. So to be a good process owner, you need to have three things in addition to what I mentioned earlier. Knowledge on the subject. So how could the process owner possibly convince the team and provide guidance if she or he doesn't know the subject inside out? And the second aspect, which we have not talked about yet, is experience. If you're in the role for the first time, you will make mistakes, which creates rework, which is very expensive and which we want to avoid. So in an ideal world, the process owner has done the work before so that he or she can guide other people. And as you mentioned earlier, the last aspect, to be an effective process owner are soft skills. This person must be able to convince the team by explaining complex relationships in a very comprehensive way. And of course, the process owner is the one which presents the process and the results in any upcoming assessments, as Olena mentioned. So he or she should be stress resistant to a certain extent, which we discussed in the webinars a few weeks ago. Here I have a little story for you. Many years ago, I was coaching a company and was preparing the teams for the assessment. There was this one person, he wanted to be desperately part of the assessment. So we were running assessment simulations, and I asked the typical assessor questions, and he got so nervous that he started mixing things up and could not answer any simple questions anymore, even though I helped him out with keywords, etc., building bridges. This got so bad that he started shaking when I, in the role of an assessor, entered the room. And this is probably because I'm such a scary person. But jokes aside, we had to do something with him. He was not able to take the role of a process owner in the assessment, so I talked to his team lead, and we decided to take him out of the assessment for his own sake. This just shows that sometimes the soft skills, the soft aspects like resilience, have a big impact on the question who can be an effective process owner.
Thank you, Ron. And this example, this story, is a very clear explanation, actually. Olena, you mentioned that being a process owner requires certain specific skills, like communication and negotiation. And how do you assess or ensure that a process owner actually has the skills in practice?
Skills assessment is my favorite part. You know, their eyes should be shining. They should be enthusiastic about that work. From my perspective, soft skills are best measured through feedback, especially from peers and managers, maybe some direct reporting managers who work closely with that person day to day. There is one more formal approach is 360-degree when collecting feedback from higher managers, from people with whom you work on your project, maybe some other stakeholders among the company with whom you communicate, and all of them evaluate person from different competencies, technical, soft skills, communication, collaboration, and so on. It gives very good understanding of soft skills of the particular person. And more informal but still very valuable approach is simply having a conversation with colleagues and ask for their honest impression. And that kind of input often gives the clearest picture of how someone really communicates, collaborates, and handles challenges.
Thank you, Olena. And Ron, from your perspective, how can process owners' knowledge, hard skills and soft skills typically be assessed? Could you share any hints or examples based on your experience, please?
Yes, first of all, here's some theory. ASPICE expects that the needed competencies are defined and evaluated. That's why we need to assess. This is defined in month 3, project management base practice 6. Then it continues on level 2 in the generic practice 216, and it also is continued on ASPICE level 3. For the knowledge part, it's quite easy. For many roles, training and respective levels are available. For example, the organization can define that each tester has to have the NISTQB foundation level. So the assumption is that if someone has passed this exam for foundation level and has received the certificate, that he or she is able to fulfill the role. For soft skills, it's often much harder to measure them in a quantified manner. How do you measure the ability to work in a team? Or my favorite, how do you measure strong communication skills? Even though it's not easy, as Olena mentioned, the organization shall define levels for these skills and respective criteria to determine if a person has the required level or not. So these rating schemas typically have 3 or 4 steps on a ladder. And then the rating is based on consensus, as Olena mentioned. Either other team members are asked and/or the superior will rate the skills for each team member based on the defined criteria. And the superior might be asked to justify his or her decision.
Thank you very much, Lena, Ronald, for your thoughts and advices. It was very insightful. So we are ready to move on to our next topic, best practices. Best practices for supporting process owners in their journey. And Olena, from your experience, what steps do you take to guide a new process owner and help them become confident and capable in the role?
I've supported several process owners over the years, and in my experience, the most effective approach is simply dedicate your time, be available to guide them. It starts with knowledge sharing, providing materials, what to read, holding sessions to walk them through the process, and clearly explaining what is expected in their role. After that, it's important to remain accessible for questions as they begin applying the process. If it's possible, it would be really helpful to attend their team meetings during the first couple of weeks, not to lead, but to observe, like learn by under guidance. And in that way, they can receive timely feedback, clarify misunderstandings, and you can support as they build confidence in their role. That's my perspective. But Ron, I would like to hear your thoughts as well. How do you expect a new process owner to be supported?
Yes, it's not uncommon that less experienced process owners are part of a project because, as I pointed out earlier, not everyone is experienced from the beginning. So first of all, during this analysis, it's discovered that there is a gap in the competencies. When you're comparing the needed competencies with the actual skill levels, then this difference is documented and can be justified by the superior, as I mentioned earlier. For larger gap, actions are defined and agreed to close this gap. The most obvious one can be to send a process owner to a training which is needed. This works very well, as I mentioned earlier, for knowledge, if this is missing. And then the evidence is the certificate after the training. For experience or soft skills, a training might not be sufficient. Then another action can be defined, which is mentoring or coaching. How does this work? The new process owner and a more experienced process owner form a kind of pair. Then they meet regularly to answer any questions which might come up during the work, and the mentor can also check for work products, or as Olena mentioned, observe the less experienced process owner to guide him or her. So again, this action of coaching or mentoring is documented and tracked if the skill level of the coachee, the newly introduced process owner, actually improved. And of course, the process owner can use the process framework, the standard process, as guidance as well.
It was a really valuable discussion. Thank you both for sharing your insights. And now let's shift gears a bit and move into the final, maybe the most fun part of our session, real life stories. I believe everybody would love to hear some success stories or even failure cases from your experience. And Ron, let's start with you.
Yes, this is my favorite one. It doesn't work in English, but in German. What have boredom, love, and truck in common? just take a moment to think about boredom. Someone gets bored with their work, falling in love, and a truck. The answer that a person is not available from one day to another. And I had a customer, and to this customer, it happened. They had a very small software project with, I think, 2 software developers, and one of them was the software project manager. And he fell in love with someone in Italy and quit from one day to the other. And while he was putting his cancellation on the desk, he told his manager, "Oh, by the way, there's an assessment coming up from the end customer." So he left a lot of chaos, thousands of deviations on a static code analysis, no documentation, no plan, and of course, they failed the assessment. The customer was not happy. They had to put on an improvement program, which was very expensive. This is where I came into action. And so this is a bad case of a process owner where they don't document, don't do their work, and have no clear handover to the project team.
Okay, then let me share a couple of real-life examples that illustrate challenges and lessons we've encountered as with assigning process owners. These cases show that while things don't always go as planned, with the right adjustment and support, they still can lead to successful outcomes. Once a process owner was assigned by the project manager, but it became clear that person lacked some key soft skills, particularly public speaking and presentation skills. Additionally, there was a language barrier, and English proficiency wasn't sufficient for effective communication during the assessment. Team was speaking at the same language, and therefore they didn't use English too often, and it was very hard to present in English. So before the assessment, we took the political decision and changed the process owner official one. A new process owner was actually a product owner from the team, and both guys attended the assessment. Newly assigned process owner took the leadership in presenting, and everything went smoothly. But this was really case when you chose a wrong person without critical evaluation of necessary skills. And also, far ago, there was another case, another situation when process owner decided to step down just close to the ASPICE assessment for level 1 for new project. And this created a challenging scenario, and we had to urgently identify a replacement and onboard the new process owner within a very limited time frame. This was also a person from the project who knows the project very well, but there were some gaps, and whole team was working overtime, trying to fix all those gaps before assessment, to prepare as much as possible. We did several dry runs or simulations during these few weeks. And fortunately, we were successfully presenting, and nobody even noticed that something happened from the assessment team. So while these examples initially reflect not ideal decisions or situations, it can happen, always can happen. They also highlight good recovery choices. In both situations, new process owners quickly adapted and succeeded in their roles, turning potential failures into success stories.
Yes, and we agreed to finish with a success story. My role model of a process owner is when I was working with a customer, we were implementing ASPICE level 3. This person was the process owner for change management, sub 10, and he knew each activity and each template in the change management tool. You need to know that the product of this company was a platform product, so the development was highly change-based. Every new feature was a change and must be documented within this tool. So thousands of developers around the world use this change management tool every day, and this person was very well aware of this responsibility. And the data in the tool needed to be consistent and complete. And he had this idea of guardrails which implement constraints, what can be done within the tool or what cannot be done. Technically, this was implemented with mandatory fields in the tools he had defined earlier. When there was a new release of the standard process, this process owner not only trained the so-called multipliers in the department, he also listened very carefully to the feedback he received during these rollout sessions. Okay, and this finishes up our presentation. And now, do we want to announce the new webinar now?
No, now it's time
then
for
my pitch. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to learn more about ASPICE or want to guide your team, the Melster Academy might be something for you. What is the Melster Academy? It's a video-based training on all the processes, starting with the terminology and how the processes are related, the work products, the base practices. And the Melster Academy, with that you can learn at your own speed. Most of you don't need the Melster Academy probably, but you might consider joining our community of practice. What is the community of practice? It's a weekly call where industry experts from different companies and countries discuss challenges and more advanced topics. And if the Melster Academy or the community might sound promising you, I invite you to book a 3-minute free meeting with me, and we will discuss your goals, your challenges in implementing ASPICE, and explore how the Melster Academy might be able to help you. Just use the QR code or the link I will provide in a second to book a meeting with me. And as an extra bonus, I would like to invite you to join our community of practice twice, 2 times completely free of charge, so that you can get an impression what topics do we discuss and what is the exchange like. And if you want to become a competent assessor, the community of practice can help you also. As I mentioned, discussing advanced topics which might come up in an assessment situation, and you can take part in assessments which are led by me. If I have an assessment coming up, I will always ask the members of the community of practice if they want to join me as a co-assessor in the assessment. And this way you can get valuable assessment experience and, of course, assessment hours.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing. I hope everyone can make a screenshot and use this QR code later. Thank you very much for a productive discussion. I believe now we are ready to start our Q&A. So I see already there are questions, but if there is anything else you would like to ask our speakers, you can turn on your microphone and ask directly. To save our time, no need to write. For now, I see already some questions, so I will read them for all, and we can hear the answer. So the first one, how can a process owner effectively balance between demands from the project and the SPICE rules. Who would like to take that?
Ron, would you like to answer?
Can you say the question again? The ASPICE rules. Okay.
Between demands from the project, yeah, and the SPICE rules.
That's a tough question. Is it really a conflict, the demands of the project and the ASPICE rules? As I mentioned earlier, the process owner shall translate the ASPICE rules to the project word and project wording without mentioning the ASPICE rules. Only in the assessment situation, then the process owner needs to translate the documents or the project documents into the ASPICE word. I'm not sure if this answers your question.
Sometimes project has strict deadlines, milestones,
Okay.
and some projects trying to continue with delivery no matter what. I believe that the question was more about that perspective.
Then let me answer that question slightly differently. The ASPICE rules or ASPICE demands should be part of the project plan. So it's not a conflict. Do we deliver the product, or do we fulfill the ASPICE rules, which are about product quality as well? So it's an integral part. So it's not a conflict. We should aim for planning the ASPICE activities as part of the project.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Olena, do you have anything to add to this question?
No, I would agree with Ron with final answer that when you make a SPICE an integral part of your project, you have no challenges, no doubts, because the SPICE is about quality.
Okay, thank you. Let me read the next one. What would be your recommendations for a process owner who does not have anyone to guide him or her?
Which could be true for very small companies or projects, so they don't have this pairing, as I mentioned earlier. Then you should ask for external help, so someone could guide you. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of time. You will make mistakes, which there's no need to do it. So ask someone external to guide you.
Book meeting with Ron.
For example.
And get some help.
Yes, I'm here to help.
To mentor and to coach, yeah.
Yeah, find a mentor, a coach, or someone who has some experience and can help you. But definitely professional help would be preferred way.
Okay, let's have a next question. What should a project do if the process owner decides to do the process himself or herself? So like process owner is doing everything by himself.
Okay, this sounds a little bit like heroism, which we don't want. So we have a parallel world, the normal project, and that the process owner creates the process artifacts himself or herself. Then to me, it's like kind of a fake world. What should a project do? Well, maybe the project should escalate, because, as I mentioned earlier, there is no conflict, there is no two worlds. The process artifacts, according to ASPICE, are an integral part of the project work. So the process owner is part of the project.
Olena, anything from your side regarding this?
Yeah, I think that there should be a warning side to project manager or who cares that project, and they shall step in and guide process owner to be like a coach for the team, not the person who takes the whole load on their shoulders.
Okay, thank you. Next question, who should assign process owners within the project? Project manager or maybe line manager? What would be your advice?
I always put it this way, the project manager goes shopping. So he needs to assign a team, he or she. Of course, the competent people which then fulfill the process owner roles are coming from the line. So the project manager talks to the line manager, and then they agree on the needed skills, what I mentioned earlier, and then they agree, okay, this person shall be in this role, and if there are any gaps, they agree on the actions, on training, on mentoring, which all of this takes time and money. So it's in between the project manager and the line manager. So the project manager wants to assign his or her team, and the process owner roles within the project, and the line provides the people.
I have slightly different experience. Okay. I proposed myself as a process owner when I became a first time a process owner in ASPICE, because I wanted to be part of establishing the processes on the project, of part of the quality assurance, let's call it like that, for the project. I wanted to be ahead of that game. But then I recommended some people for other process owner roles. Like I know that, for example, our senior test engineer is a very good and consistent person and very precise, and I thought that it would be a good match for that role. So I recommended to project manager, and he accepted my recommendation, and I did it several times. So actually, I selected several people for different process owner roles, and they were accepted and they were doing good, because I had this, I worked with them on a daily basis, and I saw that they could be a good match. But yes, all of them were approved by a project manager.
Okay, I was just about to say this does not contradict.
Yeah.
The final assignment is done by the line management or project manager. Of course, you can apply or propose someone or apply yourself, and I want to be in this role, or you propose someone, and then it's approved or assigned by the line management.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. I see the last question in the chat. How to motivate a process owner to be a proper process owner if you are not his manager?
Why do we need to motivate a process owner? Okay. He or she should have intrinsic motivation. So if you need to motivate someone to do something, then maybe he or she is not the right person. That's the more honest answer. Does it help you, Alexander?
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is not your process.
Thank you. But usually in my projects, process owners were assigned by project manager, and I have very little impact on this decision. So usually I have to work with those people who are assigned, and I need to establish collaboration and so on and so on. And sometimes it's very hard, to be honest.
Okay. So you as a project manager, of course, you're a process owner. So you need to motivate your team. You need to guide your team. You need to convince your team. Maybe, I don't know if this helps. You need to tell your process owner or your team why they should do something. What is the intention behind? That's if you don't have the disciplinary motivation, then you should talk about the why. It's exhausting. It takes a longer time. I agree, but it's even more sustainable. If they have understood why they should do something on the long run, then they will do it again. You don't need to observe them and check them, etc.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any other questions? Maybe someone would like to speak up, unmute and raise question. We have 1 more minute, and I think we can finish the session. Okay, silence, and I don't see any new incoming questions. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. We will be sharing a short poll soon to help decide the topic for our next session. It is scheduled on 24th of June, and your input is highly appreciated. So we will be looking forward to seeing you again and to get your answers to choose next topic.
Yes, I will send a mail with a vote or poll. Here are the possible topics: interface management, communicate and agree, third-party software, or free and open source software, work products and documentation, and my favorite one, Ron reacts on real work products. So you show me something and I will tell you what comes to my mind. This is base practice, this and this, and this is a very good example, or this needs to be improved.
Good one. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your answers and insights, and see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you
See you
very
next
much.
time.
Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.